One of the things I'm noticing, I'm hearing a lot of right now is grief. I had a few people close to me tell me they were feeling suicidal things. I had a couple of clients feeling the same way, feeling grief. There's a lot of feeling of loss right now. One of the people I was working with recently, I said, "What's the loss?" And one of them was the feeling of family, meaning she had family members that don't support her choice of how she's choosing to handle the lockdowns and the vaccines and all that. And I'm not going to get into a political discussion about that, but I'm going to talk about how many people are going through that right now. And one of the questions I love to ask is, what's trying to emerge here? This question is really big. It's a question Michael Beckwith asked me, and it changed my life because I know a lot of people ask questions like, why do I always do this? Why can't I figure this out? How long is this going to keep going? And so many different things, right? And one of the things I just want to offer is the grief that you're feeling is the goodbye to a pattern that you've only known in your life, right? So for instance, for some people, it could be the release of your family's approval of you or some of your friends' approval of you, right? Because right now, no matter what side you're on anything, life is kind of putting us in a position where we're on a side, even though none of us want to be on that. But it's almost creating a division right now, right? And so you're suddenly being put on a side. And I want to dare you to not try to be on a side, but just follow your highest. And your highest might seem like a side sometimes, but it's not. It's what your highest is. And one of the things that I noticed is that every human being has a higher self, but many human beings don't know that. You have a higher self. If all these things to consider in the world weren't a factor, what would you do right now? And a lot of us don't follow that highest. We don't follow that question. And our body is full of what we think we should do, right? And so right now there's so much confusion. If you're in a world of what you should do, you are hearing conflicting information everywhere. And this is a huge opportunity for you to lose your shouldness and find your highest. This is where you have to start making decisions that call to your soul. You have to listen to your soul and make decisions that call to your soul. This is how you ascend. One of the things that's trying to happen in this world right now is as you shed I want you to still be able to have connection to family, but some of us have connection to family as a way to cut off of our soul, right? Like, I'm scared to lose my mom's approval, so I'm going to do what I think she wants me to do, right? And so there's a lot of us that are losing the ability to keep other people happy, which actually is a great thing. And what you don't know is when you finally do what's the truest to you, if you ask your highest self what you need to do, and everyone has a different highest self, and there's a reason for that. But what's your highest self want you to do with anything, not just with the responses to COVID, but with what you eat, with, when you eat, with what you watch on TV, with, do you meditate, whatever. When you finally are aware of a pattern that is scared of losing people's approval and you allow it to run its course and fall out, you actually start to be connected to the truth of what you are. And this requires you to not move from a should. It requires you to move from your calling. So this requires some meditation. This requires some going in. This time requires you to raise your frequency like no other. Right now, the most powerful weapon we have is frequency raising. It's you going to a higher frequency. It's not just fighting what is, it's not just arguing, it's you moving to a frequency where you're more connected to your highest self than other people's approval. Now, you're already more connected to other people's approval if you have a truth that you feel, but you're scared if you tell them that they'll get mad. So you don't. Let's really break that down. I want to tell them what I really feel, but they'll get mad. Well, if you establish that that's okay, then you're going to start cutting off your calling to keep other people happy. And other people aren't really happy. They're just able to keep their control going or their decision about what you're supposed to be. And you are here to move from connecting to everyone's approval of you to guided, to that you are naturally moving from your highest vibration. And often when we feel depressed or suicidal or something's falling apart, it's not because of the outside world. It's that the outside world is cutting off patterns that you've been so used to your entire life. So the outside is trying to cut you off from people's approval. It's trying to cut you off from your ability to see that you're safe in the future. It's trying to cut you off from a you that keeps everything positive all the time. It's trying to cut you off from thinking always that you're totally safe so that you'll surrender into true safety of the now. It's really doing its work right now to pull everything from you that's not you. And if you don't understand that, you will be more and more depressed or feel more suicidal. But remember, the only thing that's trying to fall off is your old story, your old addictions, your old patterns, your old escape routes, your old strategies. I had a client recently say, I want to quit my job, but before I do, she said she doesn't want to be at that job anymore, but she goes, before I do, I want to have another plan. And I said, what if right now life is trying to get you to actually surrender to it? Like what you're doing is you get on a plane to go skydiving, and then instead of skydiving, you're jumping onto another plane. And you're missing the opportunity to be in the full, I don't know, to be in the full, holy shit. And you'll notice that if you're constantly trying really hard to keep everything together and figure out what to do about everything, that's an old pattern that's no longer useful. And it has to fall, right? It has to fall off, right? And this is what's happening right now. This is trying so much to fall off, right? I just got a question from a teammate that said, why is the Ascension energy shift happening in 2021 of all years? It's just time. It's just happening. Like always Ascension has been happening, but at one point you can feel the energy that says, we've achieved enough in the false world. I have achieved so many of the things that I wanted and got them and was like, this isn't it, right? And this isn't it. It's fun to achieve those things, but you get there and you go, what's next? What's next? What's next? And if I didn't have this shift happening, I could keep achieving my way, whatever, but then can you see how achieving would just be an addiction and stopping me from now? And right now, everything is waking up. People are waking up in so many masses. There are people all over the place seeing a higher truth than they thought was true. This is happening all over the world right now. And one of the biggest things that's happening is you're losing your ability to make family more important than God. You can still have family, but you have to make your own guidance system first. You know, every other week or so, I meet with a therapist for myself. And I said, I sometimes have a really hard time connecting to people at all. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, a lot of conversations are just like what the football team did or, you know, whatever. And it feels very Stepford wifey to me. And he goes, what's your idea of connection? And I said that I don't have to sacrifice my soul to be with the person. I don't have to sacrifice my truth, what I feel, who I am. And that I have a person in my life that's a friend, a relationship, whatever, that cares about what I feel and that can maybe even take me past that, right? And the more you do this, the more you'll find there's a lot of people that it's really loud now that you might have kept as friends. But let me ask you something. If you keep people as friends only because you went to the same college or because you like the same football team or because you both are fans of a singer, isn't that a fake friendship? And isn't it not based on a soul connection? Isn't it based on just that we have the same bloodline? It's just based on, right, like that we both like that same thing. So it's not necessarily a sustainable friendship. It's based on a thing that if that thing went away, your connection could go away. And I can feel that right away. So sometimes I feel very alone, but in that aloneness, sometimes I find there's a higher frequency of myself coming in if I get okay with that aloneness, right? And so the more I do this work, the more I find there's an aloneness here. But in that aloneness, I really can move. And if I embrace that aloneness, it's empowered. The old me, when I was alone, thought I should be in a relationship. And when I was in a relationship, at times thought I should be single. And now I'm like, I think I should be alone for a while and embrace being alone. And one of the things that you might notice that's happening right now is your constant argument with every direction. Does anyone notice this happening right now? A constant argument with every single direction. Like, do I leave this house? Well, I like this house though, but I should leave this house. I should let go of it, but I like it though. And you go, okay, well, sell it. No, I don't want to because I like it. And you're like, okay, don't sell it. And they're like, I should though, because I want you to notice if you got that going on right now, where you're in a constant argument, that's a control freak trying to control all ways. And when you're in a place where you're in a constant argument with all directions, this is actually a good thing, because all ways don't work anymore. You have to create space for a new way. And that's when you take a deep breath in and you go, I don't know. And you sit in your I don't know. Right? You got to sit in your I don't know, because the frequency that's trying to control all the directions, like, do I leave this person? No, I'm going to stay. No, I'm going to go. But they're really good and they got me dinner that one time, but it would be easier. No, it actually would be harder. Okay, leave them. No, I can't because they're really wonderful with blah, blah, blah. Okay, stay with them. I can't, because if you're in a constant argument with yourself right now, that's your ego scared of bigger than your ego. Imagine your ego inside of your body is like looking at all the ways outside of the ego, right? It's looking at all the ways outside of the ego, which means you see bigger than the ego. Do you get what I'm saying? You're actually like, the ego is almost this energy and you can see this. So the ego's like, what do I do? This way, this way, this way. But you're seeing all of this, right? So now there's this. So it's like, this can't do the job anymore. This frequency no longer works in 2021 for you. The what do I do frequency is dying, right? This is what's happening in the world right now. You have to go, I don't know. And I'm not here to just be a doer. I'm here to surrender to God, because always, 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 God in the universe will give you a third option you don't know about. It'll either make someone come in and buy the house for over the price. It'll make the person you were considering leaving, they'll go. It'll make whatever. You're not considering all the other factors. And you can't make a decision because the frequency you're still moving from can't pick, right? Because the choice is bigger than this can see. So now you surrender to the now. And here we are in this now right now. There's always, always a third option. And if you start to really follow your highest, not what should you do, not what should you do to get them to like you, not what should you do to get seen, not what should you do to make money. What's your highest calling? Sometimes your highest calling will be to do something even if it doesn't pay. But when you go to that frequency, you show yourself your time is worth more than money, and then life will reward you in ways you don't understand. Now, most people don't understand this, and most people don't believe this, but this frequency moves not only to making your life amazing, but the world amazing. You raising your vibration will change the planet. This is not just, oh, and then I can have some money and then I can drive the car and then I can date the person. You have to be open. You have to be so open. I want to dare you to be so open. Worst case scenario, check this out. I'm wrong and you'll just have a really good life, right? But when you want to really live, you get so open to that it's really amazing. And I have started to move in the last year much more like everything is mirroring me. And it's mirroring every decision I make. It's mirroring every little bite that I take. It's mirroring every time that I stay with something that doesn't align. It's mirroring every time I say yes to my highest, right? And the more you follow your highest, you move into a place where you're aligned with your higher self. But that's death to everything you've ever known about you. And that's why people feel suicidal thoughts. You need to understand something. You are not suicidal or depressed. Your patterns are. Take that in. It's not you. And if you get more and more present and you don't try to overcome the patterns, because that's the same frequency as the patterns, Do you understand that? The patterns can't overcome themselves. They're the same ones acting. You got to get here and start to see the patterns. You got to listen to silence for a good chunk of time. You get really quiet and you start to see a pattern here, but you don't do anything about it. And then you see another pattern and you don't do anything about it. You see another pattern. You see these things and then you start to hear all the shoulds in your life. I better move here. I better whatever. And you start to see all these things that you think you need to do. But the more you listen, the more they fall off. And you start to realize it's a mirror of your frequency, not your actions. Do you get that? It's a mirror of your frequency, not your actions, unless your actions are creating a higher frequency, right? So when you ask yourself, should I hang with that person tonight, right? Ask the highest you. And don't be scared to say no if it's a no, right? We all got this people-pleasing pattern that's trying to die right now, right? Should I meet that person for dinner tonight? Well, the highest me actually says I should meditate. Okay, but all the patterns in my body say I should go. That's should. And the highest you is ending an addiction. Ending an addiction to an old frequency. It's ending an addiction to whatever, being controlled. It's ending an addiction to a you that would settle. That's the shit that's falling off. The you that would settle. The you that is addicted all the time. The you that is constantly an escape in the future. The you that is constantly chasing your family's approval or your friend's approval. All of these things are dissolving and you don't know what you are on the other side of that. But I promise you, if you stay with it and stay present and let yourself really feel and cry out all the shit that's coming up while you feel it, and you really go, I might have to let go of that person. I might have to let go of their opinion. I might have to let go of what they think of me. I might have to let go of living in this one place I thought I wanted to live. I have to let go of those things. One really big trick to make this move much quicker is to not be in denial that this is coming. A lot of people are still in the negotiation stage and they're still already looking at the way out to not have to feel this. And you've never watched a movie hoping they don't go on the adventure. We watch movies hoping they go on the adventure that's beyond what they can see from the beginning. Every movie is pretty much that. A person doesn't want to, but then they have to go on an adventure and they have to face something that's beyond anything they know of themselves. And then eventually they learn something about themselves and they change the whole world because of it. That's Back to the Future. That's Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's so many things, right? Like you get into a situation that you're totally screwed on. You can't see a way out. And then you stay in the game and you move to a frequency that's higher and higher and higher. You stay with what's true for you. You honor your boundaries. You move up. That you wouldn't watch those movies if they didn't go on the adventure. I was watching a movie today and it was just like, it was a terrible movie and it had Russell Crowe in it and it's called Unhinged. And it's a movie about road rage. And he just tells the kid in the back seat, like the woman cuts him off and he tells her, roll down the window. And he's like, apologize to me. And all she had to do was apologize to him. And if she did, the movie would be over. But she doesn't apologize to him and he becomes a psycho and it's like Fatal Attraction. It's crazy, right? But it's so funny because I'm watching it like this movie would be 15 minutes if she just was like, I'm sorry, right? It was like a funny thought. Like, what if she just said, I'm sorry, and the movie's over? Every movie has that. You're watching going, just tell them the thing and this movie ends, right? Just do the thing. I can see the problem. Why aren't you going to the police? You know, those things all you got to do is tell the police right now. No, I'm going to do it my weird Liam Neeson way. And it's just like, that's your problem, right? Just get her taken by the cop. This is over. You got to do karate all over Europe. Right? So we are forced into an adventure now. And the adventure requires you to move in a way that you can't just egoically get out of. And instead of egoically getting out of it, we're going to lose our egos a little bit every day. Our attachments are what's falling off. Can you find anything that's falling off that's not an attachment? An attachment to false safety, an attachment to being seen, an attachment to approval, an attachment to the future. That's what's falling off. And what you don't know is on the other side of it falling off is the birth of you, the birth of the real you. That's what's happening. Do you understand this? That's what's happening. But this you is unfamiliar. This you you're not familiar with. So day one doesn't feel, you don't get it. You don't understand what's going on. It doesn't make any sense. But does anyone notice you've already cried out some stuff and have this kind of hybrid of still control and addiction and also a little more now? Does anyone feel that? Like they've kind of surrendered and cried out some shit, but also are more here? Well, it used to not be like that, right? 20 years ago or 10 years ago, it used to just be the pattern of doing. There was no here, right? Like you were just a doer. You felt safe in your constant future goal and you just did, right? Now that ability to do is being taken from you, but there's also a little bit more presence. And because you have so much more presence, a day moves like a year now. Like, you've noticed that? You notice, like, think of someone you had a date with like a month ago. If anyone had a date with someone a month ago or talked to a month ago, does anyone notice like some of those people don't even exist in your life now? It feels like they're 3 years away. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay, fine, not date, but just someone you talk to like, oh, I got a thing, I got to call that person back. And then you forgot they existed. Like, but it's only been like 3 weeks, but 3 weeks now feels like 10 years. That's because time is very different now because you don't have your pattern anymore. You're just ascending and it causes the patterns to fall off. That's happening right now. So everyone take a deep breath and release it. And you need to know that every tear you shed creates a little more God getting into your body, right? Every tear you shed, every release, every being present, every time you feel totally doomed and you just let yourself feel doomed without numbing it. I feel screwed. I feel depressed. Okay, get present and let yourself feel depressed. Be present with it, love it, allow it to be, right? Don't judge it. Don't try to get out of it. That pattern that wants to get out of things. What if life right now, yawning is totally a release. What if life right now is getting you here? You've never been here. And the world was sustainable just enough. Right here. Get present for your darkness too. You have a presence in you that can handle your darkness too. It's not just positive thinking anymore. It's being a space for the darkness. It's being a space for the pain inside. That pattern inside just needs to be seen. I see it so much. I'll be working with someone and they'll feel off and then they come up with a solution. I'm like, your inner child said I'm off and you just left them for a solution. Meditate, open your heart right now and get present for what's here. Pain, not the solution to the pain. Fear. Like if you have a justifier, like I have a justifier going, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I know this, we'll all work through this. What if I just said, hey, that justifier in you is scared. It's scared. Like, what if I just look at you and go, I hear the pattern that's in the future. It's scared. Let's be present for it. We have lived skipping on top of our darkness. We've been water skiing on top of an ocean with a ton of darkness inside. And now we're deep sea diving and we don't want to, but if we allow ourselves to accept, we're here to ride this wave, to be with this, to allow ourselves to feel this, to become present. Not just stay on top of the water, not just skip on top of the water, fall into the ocean and go deep. You need to go deep. Everything's been shallow. What's that football team doing? Okay, that laugh isn't right. I've always had a problem for the last 10 years with fake laughter. I know someone that no matter what they'd say, they'd have a loud laugh. Oh, I'll take a bite of this. I'm like, that's not funny. That's not a joke. You're lying when you laugh. That's my problem too. But it's so what, don't mind if I do. What are you doing? Are you just scared to talk? Like, what is this? You're losing your ability to be phony. You're losing your ability to cover things up. You're finding a real you. That person that I can think of that was like that, they never got to know the real them. Now they get to, right? Oh, I think I'll just take a bite. Hey, I'm holding a pen. That's just a fact. It's just a fact. Oh, my face. True, not a joke. I wouldn't close with that joke. Hey, everybody, the comedy stylings of this person. Hey, everybody, thank you so much. I eat food. Thank you. I'm going to open a door. Hi, I just wanted to come on and say this was the beginning rant of a very, very, very special episode on the Absolutely Everything Pass. That's where you can see the entire thing. Right after this riff, I go into questions, and one of the questions was a woman talking about her darkness and her mind and how it's sabotaging her right now. And it's amazing because by opening her heart, within minutes, you watch her shift the entire thing. It's way too much and way too deep to put on YouTube. So I just wanted you to know, if you want to see it, it's episode 147 on the Absolutely Everything Pass, which also has hundreds of other things and, you know, live events and talks. So please join us. I hope you enjoyed this riff, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.